Hi, this is a continuation from our previous discussion on Tableau manipulating data. In that video, we actually switched from this view with every day listed out, and we built something that actually shows each day and how it's relative. Well, in this video, I want to show you how to make your legend more interactive and more useful. The way legends usually come across is the way that we just saw with the previous video, where you can select things and they highlight, but when I select something, nothing changes here. So what I want to do is actually create something so that when I select a day, it actually filters my visualizations, and it can act as it actually shows us some information. So let's create something like this that can act as a driver for some of our dashboards. So when we left off on our last video, we can actually see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but we couldn't really do anything with it. It was just acting to highlight the items on the table. In this section, let's see, we're going to actually get rid of the legend and create another object. It'll be another visualization in the same fact, like this is the map and that'll be a bar chart. So let's get started. What we want to do is actually duplicate something like this. So the way we start is by putting weekday, since that's what our color is on now, putting weekday on the color shelf. And since we see that it automatically throws things out to horizontal view, we can put weekday on the rows as well. This doesn't really look very, this doesn't look like a legend. So let's go ahead and hide the field labels because we know what it is. And we're going to format. So we're going to take off the grid lines because they're pretty useless at this point. So if we go to the top and format the borders, I've right-clicked here, selected format, and then go to the borders at the top. And I'll go to sheet. You can do it at the sheet level, the rows, or the columns. Sheet level is the whole thing. Rows and columns just let you format those particular items. So I'm going to go ahead and take the column divider off and the row divider. So now I have this nice little, little box. It doesn't really do anything for us yet, but we're going to get there. So now I want to go back, and because I'm letting my user select the measure that they'd like, I'm going to put the measure. To create a regular bar chart, what we would do is just put the measure on the columns, and that looks great. But we want to have something that's smaller and that allows a user the ability to act as a legend. So what we're going to do is actually drag it from the columns to the size portion. And it doesn't really change the way the initial view was at first. But we're going to change this mark to bar. And so see, now that formatting kind of got thrown off. What it's done is said, hey, this is a chart, let's format it again. So I'm going to go back in. And this is a tip that not a lot of even experienced users have. But if you have a vertical line, it means that you're somehow formatted your grid lines at the column level or your borders. So now I can see that I'm doing it at the cell level. So I'm going to select none. If it's a horizontal line, it would be on the rows cell. So now we actually have this nice little bar, like a little mini bar chart, but it doesn't really tell us anything. We can see that the weekday is Tuesday and the measure is 3,227, but we don't know what that measure is, and we should format our tooltip. This is often overlooked for most developers, but really could help make your visualization look like an actual product, is to go in and make your tooltips user-friendly. So I'm going to take off the heading for weekday because we know what that field is. And I'm going to change this measure. And I'm going to put the parameter in. So a couple of spaces and insert the parameter, choose a measure. I don't want that bolded. I want that a lighter shade. So now, and I don't want this include command buttons. From previous discussions, we know that allows the user to get places that they can't get back out of. So I'm going to hit OK. And now when I hover, I see what I'm looking at. Average number of palettes. But the bad thing is that you actually have to hover to see what the value, what you're even looking at. So let's go and put a title on this. Hit worksheet, show title, and let's change that to be what the measure is. So all we did was select that parameter value, and when we go out to put this on the dashboard, it will actually show us that view. All right, so we have this little bar chart here, and we can resize the bars to make them look nice and big. We can have a little bit of white space between them and kind of shorten them up. We can format the names to be aligned next to the bars. We could even, if we wanted to, put the names on the other side of the bars, but that would mean to drag weekday onto the label and hide this weekday and drag that out a little bit. And now we see the weekdays listed to the side. That gets a little funky, you see, because your weekdays are bleeding into your bars and you can't really change it. So I'm going to go back and change that back to the view we had before, because that's nice and clean. But I want to pull this up so it's really like its own little section. So you see, so I'm going to rename this. I'm going to take this off because I don't need this anymore. Well, I'll name it Legend 1. How about that? Because we already have one, we're just duplicating it for your eyes. So Legend 1, and let's go to our copy of that dashboard. This is the original view, what we stopped with in the last video. And you see the legend. If we take that legend out, and we go to the show sidebar. Now we can put legend 1 in right here. We don't need legends of legends. So let's take those off. We don't need the size legend. So, but we do need to edit our title so it's a little smaller and it's in the middle. We're gonna put that at 10. We'll bold that again. And we can actually right click and format it to shade it. So it pops maybe a little bit more. And you see here, the sheet right now ends right here. But what we want is we want to resize this to fit width. We could fit it to entire view, but what it would do is if you just select one day's worth of information, it would take up this entire box right here, and it would just really not look very attractive. So I don't know why it won't automatically size correctly, but this looks about right. And so now, well, we can see that I select Wednesday, nothing really happens. We need that action, but when I select the weekday here, it does highlight up here. I made an action previously that was the highlight on the last dashboard. Let's take that off. So now it doesn't do anything. Now we need actions to tie these two objects together. So what we're going to do is go actions, and you could just create one action to tie them both together, but what you're going to have is it's not going to look correct. So you see how small Wednesday got right there? Because it's just pulling the value for that one zip code. But what I can't, Wednesday works. You know, down here, this is great. This is exactly what we want. When we select Wednesday, it filters this visualization and it shows you only the applicable ship days. So deselect that. But what I want is I actually want to see, I want Wednesday highlighted. I don't want the rest of them to go away, but I want to know what I'm looking at. So I'm going to create a secondary action. We'll fix this one first, and I'm going to make it only apply from the legend to the map. And it's always important to name your filters intelligently so somebody else can come behind you and actually know what you've named it. So legend map filter. And I can just leave that at all fields for right now. But now what I want to do is actually add a highlight action. So I want this to be map to legend highlight. Highlight's a little redundant because you'll see the little image looks a little different. But now I'm going to make that highlight this to legend. And I don't care about the zip. What I do care about is the weekday. So you can do this on select. And so now when I select Wednesday, now that's highlighted. If I select a broad thing, a broad range of things, now those are highlighted. What you can also do is change that to show on hover. You see this is a little highlight box. So if I change that to hover, what it would look like is a little bit more dynamic. And so that you see that box up there, it looks like it's got like it's having some sort of a rave, some sort of party. So I'm going to change that back. I can just hit back a couple of times, one too many. So now I've got my highlight action back. So now we've actually changed the legend from just something that would highlight items on the map to something that actually has a meaning to it. So thank you very much, and next time we'll go over something a little bit more dynamic.